Welcome to the game view. This is week 8 against the Denver Broncos. We're going to go over the game film, look at this debacle for the Packers a little bit closer. This is the Packers' first drive of the game, their first possession on offense. It's going to end up being a punt, of course. Just showing you this play just to show you the lineup for the Broncos. No surprise. They got nearly everybody up at the line of scrimmage. They got a single safety deep. The Broncos did something a little different in that instead of switching to a nickel defense, they actually stayed in their base for a lot of the game. What they did is they simply just took out a safety and they inserted their nickel corner, Robley, in substitution for their safety. So they're actually still in their base right here, which is a defense that is strong against the run. They got 7 guys up here against the run, both the linebackers close to the line of scrimmage playing the run, only a single safety deep again. And so this is the defense that the Broncos would play for most of the game. It's a very similar defense as what the Rams played just a month earlier. And the Broncos were actually a little bit more aggressive than the Rams were even. They gave the Packers a number of 0 looks where they had no safeties back. And the bottom line is that if you want to get defenses to stop playing these kind of coverages, you have to throw the ball down the field. The Packers repeatedly, for most of the night, had one-on-ones on the outside with both receivers, and they never even took a shot down the field. And until they start doing that, defenses absolutely are going to keep pressing the line of scrimmage and making it difficult for either the run game or the short passing game to work. All right, this is the last play of the Packers' first drive. I'm showing this because this is an example of many times during the game where the Packers had exactly what I was talking about, which was a chance for a deep shot that they could have taken. Here, the Packers have James Jones one-on-one with the Broncos' nickel corner, which is Robley. This is the matchup that the Broncos rolled with pretty much the entire game. They were fine with Robley covering James Jones one-on-one with usually no safety help for the majority of the game. This allowed them to put Chris Harris, their second corner, on Randall Cobb. He shadowed Cobb for most of the game. And as we roll this forward, now this is 3rd and 17, so the Broncos are kind of sitting back in at least a fake 2-deep look. And the 3rd and 17 alters their defense a little bit, but it's rare that they actually ever had 2 safeties back. And as we roll this forward, we can see that this safety is actually not really concerned about the deep ball, and he's going to let James Jones run right by him. So here we see this developing. Rodgers appears to be looking Jones' way. Rodgers should already be able to tell that Jones is going to run right by the safety. The safety is basically just standing still at this point. Jones is going to run by him. Jones has inside position on the defender, which means that if Rodgers were to lead Jones towards the middle of the field, Jones can run away from the defender, run across the field, and it's going to be difficult for the defender to get on and stop this play. So this is obviously a chance here as we see Jones starting to go by the safety. He's going to go right by the safety. He's got the middle of the field open, and if Rodgers had already been delivering this ball, this could have been a big play for the Packers. Rodgers also had a chance to throw Richard Rodgers the ball. He's open. However, that would have not have gotten the first down, but it's 3rd and 17. Do you really expect to? It would have picked up 10 yards. Said Rodgers was a little bit hesitant. Right at the last second, DeMarcus Ware jumped in front of Bakhtiari, got a hit on Rodgers, and then it ends up throwing this pass off. But really, the bottom line was the indecision by Rodgers. Now, when Rodgers did flick this out here, if he would have managed to throw it to the inside, still could have been a big play for the Packers. Instead, the hit of DeMarcus Ware certainly affected the pass. That's understandable. And the ball was thrown to the outside, and that has no chance. Okay, let's talk about 3 things in this game that killed the Packers defensively. 1, they didn't play a good game. Almost nobody on their defense had any sort of game that was worth talking about. I'd say Clay Matthews played at least a B-level game, but everybody else did nothing special. Some guys had some real bad games, had a really bad game. Number 2, the Packers played a ton of zone defense, and Peyton Manning tore it up. They had a great plan to work against the zone defense, and they repeatedly bludgeoned the zone. And number 3, which kind of certainly helped the other 2 happen, was the Broncos were able to run the ball, especially at the edges of the Packer defense. And the Broncos have been struggling to run the ball all season so far until tonight. But here they ran the ball very well at the Packers' edges, and that really set up the rest of their game plan. We're going to see this here. This is going to be a run around the end for Hillman. A play that, again, Manning likely could have changed right there at the line of scrimmage. He sees Ha about to come up. Clinton Dix has actually come up from the secondary, but he's come up around this end. So Manning is simply going to run a sprint draw to the left. And same as what happened against the Bears, the key to this play is the tight end here, Virgil Green, gets a hook block on Julius Peppers. He's able to block him down to the inside. Once Nate Palmer hesitates to get around to the outside, this frees up the edge for Hillman to blaze around and go around untouched, and this would end up being a nice 16-yard gain for the Broncos. And again, that is something that the Broncos had a lot of success around both ends on the Packers all night. Because of that, the Packers had to quite often bring their safeties up and try to help against the run, and that really also helped throw off their defense. This is a play that would set up the Broncos' first touchdown. This is another deep square in to Marius Thomas. The Broncos, this is the third time that the Broncos already ran this play. They went to this play, the very first two plays of the game, they ran the same exact play, the square in to Thomas. The Broncos were probably thinking of picking on Demarius Randall when they were coming into this game. They didn't know that Randall would actually be out and that this would actually be Casey Hayward out here. Casey Hayward, he plays this like he's playing in a 3-deep coverage instead of actually covering Thomas. And this makes this a pretty easy conversion here for the Broncos. The Packers are in a cover 2. Cover 2 is the defense that you'd like to play against Peyton Manning because he loves to throw the ball over the top if you show him only a single safety. However, the cover 2 got burnt a fair amount in this game. The square in is an absolutely perfect route to run against the cover 2. It's a tough route to stop if it's thrown on time. And the Broncos, it's like the Broncos knew the Packers' game plan ahead of time. Even though the Packers have not played a lot of cover 2 so far this year, the Broncos, it was like they were anticipating it, and they knew the Packers would play cover 2, and they had the perfect plays designed to go against it. Here you see the square in by Thomas. Hayward is just playing, again, he seems to be worried too much about the deep ball. He's playing lackadaisical coverage here. It's an easy catch there for Thomas. He's wide open. This is going to be a lazy tackling attempt here by Hayward, and this ends up being a 30-yard play, gets down to the 7-yard line, and would set up the Broncos' first score. All right, it's 3rd and 2. It's 14-0 Broncos now. They've scored again a second time. Get out 14-0. The Packer offense really needs to respond. Again, this is 3rd and 2. The Broncos, they have their entire defense up here near the line of scrimmage. This is all 11 guys up at the line of scrimmage. They have no safety deep. Again, this would be a great chance for Rodgers to possibly put someone in motion, get him out wide, and then look to take a shot deep if the Broncos don't change and start putting their safety back. Instead, Rodgers is going to be fooled here. He's going to think that even though the Broncos have 11 guys at the line of scrimmage, he's going to think they might be vulnerable on this side. They're kind of overloading the right side here. And so Rodgers is going to switch to a quick handoff here to Lacey coming to the right side of the Packers offense. However, the Bronco defense fooled Rodgers here because they are actually all slanting to the left. They got a slant left called on this play, and the entire defense is going to immediately start charging to the left as soon as the ball is snapped. With all 11 guys up the line of scrimmage, Eddie Lacy has nowhere to run, and that had no chance. All right, this is the Packers' first only touchdown drive of the game. It's before half. The Packers are down 17-0 at this point. They absolutely need to get some offense going, score some points, or this game is going to end up getting out of hand. Here they do a little pitch end around to Randall Cobb. It is going to get 10 yards. I'm showing this play because this kind of encapsulates the Packers' night. It's kind of a comical play. Now, the Packers do end up scoring again on this drive, so it really doesn't matter. However, it's just funny what happens on this play, and it's just something that just shows this wasn't the Packers' night. Here we have the little pitch to Cobb. Richard Rodgers was actually blocking his guy to the outside, and Cobb could have easily just took this up the sideline. If he does that, you can see here the safety is kind of walled off from the sideline, and Cobb is going to have no problem getting up the sideline. He might even have a touchdown. He's only going to have this guy to worry about. It's going to be at least a 10, 12-yard gain here for Cobb if he takes to the sideline. Instead, Cobb decides to cut this back. Now this brings the safety into play. However, Cobb is going to take care of that by just leaping Ward. He just leaps right over the top of him. Now, once he does that, the Broncos really are screwed now. Eddie Lacy is going to go over and get a block here. And so this is going to open up the middle of the field. A lane is going to open up here. There's nobody else back. So this is going to be a walk-in, jog-in touchdown for Randall Cobb now. There's nobody in the middle of the field that can stop him from taking this to the house. There's just one thing, though. Randall Cobb then, as soon as this opens up, he trips over his own feet and just goes down. As you can see, Eddie Lacy going to get the block over there. That would have opened Cobb up for a possible touchdown. But Cobb trips over his own feet and goes down, and it just ends up being a 10-yard gain. Okay, this is the Broncos' drive after the Packers had narrowed the lead down to 17-10. The Packers have a chance to get back in this game here if they can just get a stop. This is 2nd and 12, so this is a great opportunity to force a 3rd and long. Fortunately, the Packers really played some bad defense on 2nd down and were victimized quite a bit on 2nd down. I think on some of these 2nd downs, they expected some runs like the Packers like to run on 2nd and long. Instead, the Broncos caught the Packers in the zone defense, and again, they would attack the zone defense. The Packers clearly are in zone here, but a veteran like Peyton Manning is going to be able to tell right away because Demarius Randall is just out here in space. The Packers are in their nickel defense when they don't need to be. The Broncos only have 2 receivers on the field, and yet the Packers stuck with their nickel. And as we roll this forward, once again, the Broncos are going to run a perfect play against the zone. They know exactly what to do against this zone defense. This is actually kind of an odd zone defense here for the Packers as they're not in a 2 deep. They actually brought Burnett up at just after the snap to play a 4 across. It's like the Packers were really expecting this to be a short pass. Instead, Manning he's got 2 choices here. A great way to attack the zone is to flood a zone and have layers, have a guy short and a guy deep. That's exactly what the Broncos do here. They run the tight end right to the middle of the field. Both the linebackers have to jump on that and respect that possibility. He is open. Manning could throw him the ball for an easy 6-7 yard gain here. Instead, Manning, he's going to go for a little bit more. He has got Andre Caldwell out of the slot, curling right behind the linebackers, and Manning is just going to put a little loft on this, throw it right over the top of everybody. Throw it right in there to Caldwell. He is wide open in the middle of the field. Packers only had a single safety back, so had to stay back here on this play. And this is just another big play for the Broncos. They burnt the Packers' zone defense with big plays all night. All right, if we didn't already know the game was over at this point, it's 27-10. We're in the 4th quarter. This is the play that's certainly going to put the final nail in the coffin. On this play, the Packers are going to do a play fake. For whatever reason, DeMarcus Ware over here on the end, he absolutely does not care that the Packers are going to, fake the run to the left. He does not care. He is going to go right for Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers were to give Starks the ball here, because the fact that Ware is charging upfield and around Richard Rodgers, he's going to take himself completely out of this play. But again, maybe because it is 27-10, Ware absolutely could care less if Rodgers hands off or not. He's just going to go straight to Rodgers. That gets him by Richard Rodgers. Richard Rodgers takes blame here. He had a really bad game this game, no question about that. However, I'm sure he was surprised that DeMarcus Ware absolutely did not care about the play fake and went straight to Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be a tough play for just about anybody. And here, this is just going to be a sack for DeMarcus Ware, except for Rodgers sees Kuhn in front of him, and he tries to shovel the ball ahead of him to Kuhn, and it ends up being shoveled short, and because of that, this turns into a safety. Really is a play that, again, kind of sums up the Packers' night all in one play. Here, Richard Rodgers picks up the loose ball. Doesn't have a lot of room to roam. Defense is going to close quickly. However, he's probably going to be able to get this ball out of the end zone, at least to like the 1 or 2 yard line if he just runs this to the corner. Instead, for whatever reason, again, Richard Rodgers just trips over his own feet and falls down in the end zone. and that is going to be a safety, and that would set the final score at 29 to 10. Broncos victory. Really bad game for the Packers on both sides of the ball. Both sides of the ball have to improve and start playing better than this. We will see. I will to bring you through the game film next week after the game against the undefeated Carolina Panthers.